Yesterday, Reverb announced that for the first time in their life, they are going to be raising their fees from 3.5% to 5%. So the question is it time to quit Reverb? I had a video a couple years ago. I quit Reverb for a full year. Before we dig into that, make sure that you're subscribed down below. I'm Jeremy, I'm the Guitar Hunter. I make videos that help people buy and sell cool guitars and gear and find the right guitars for them. Reverb is a critical tool to finding cool gear in 2020, but this is a serious problem, and I think for a lot of people, it is time to start looking at other options for selling their guitars and gear. So let's read the email real quick. To our community, I am writing to share upcoming changes that will enable us to significantly grow our marketplace so that we can help you reach even more buyers all over the world. Beginning August 4th, 2020, we are increasing our selling fee for the first time ever from 3.5% to 5%. When Reverb launched in 2013, the idea was simple: an online marketplace specifically built for musical instrument community. Blah, blah, blah. We've done that. Today, Reverb is the largest online marketplace dedicated to buying and selling musical instruments. In the past year alone, our community has achieved tremendous growth. More customers, blah, blah, blah. More people are buying, and they're expanding an audience of high quality buyers. I don't believe that part. I think that overall Reverb has been really good for people that like buying and selling, but the quality of buyers, which is super exciting. There are new people buying guitars for the first time ever, but because they're inexperienced, they buy things and they have problems that if they just knew a little more about guitars and gear, they wouldn't have had those problems. We take the role that we play in supporting your business very seriously. Over the past 7 years, our team has worked tirelessly to improve the marketplace, to support your business, and to find new ways to help you grow your sales. Now is the time to deepen our commitment to these efforts. We're modifying our selling fee to help us invest more to sustain our community's continued growth. This year alone, we plan to increase our investment from 2019 by, number one, investing 30% more in marketing initiatives, including SEO, online advertising, and other digital advertising, to get your inventory in front of buyers from around the world. 2, expanding by more than 25% the capacity of our global customer support team focused on assisting you and your buyers as we grow. 3, increasing by more than 40% the capacity of our product team focused on creating and enhancing sellers' tools and services to increase the visibility of your shop and inventory. Our marketplace simply doesn't exist without the independent shops, makers, artists, experts, and individuals that form our vibrant seller community. These changes will enable us to get more buyers on Reverb on your behalf, support the long-term health of your online business, and continue growing together. And then it's signed, Sincerely, David Mantelbrot, the CEO of Reverb. A few months ago, Reverb was bought by Etsy, and so there were some changes. Trogley has a great video talking about the changes and how it's good, bad, it's just different in the last couple months. One of the things that's immediately gone away is there's no longer a direct phone line that you can call. So I used to have, with customer resolutions, that was a regular number that I would have to call. I would call and I'd get, one of 4 or 5 people that I knew and they knew me. And there was an actual customer service where I could say, hey, this guy called. It's probably going to be an issue, a refund. Here's what I need if you can get him a label. And we could work out the deal. We could head it off before big problems happen. But, so the 3 things that they're saying, they're increasing their fees because 1, they want to invest more in SEO and digital marketing to get our products out and around. Number 2, they want to increase their customer service internationally so that they can help buyers and sellers in other parts of the world. So the 3rd one, they're just putting more money into tools to help us sell more products. I don't know what that means totally, but Reverb has been helpful in the past in that regard. They've done some things that work really well and some things that don't. But overall, so the first thing that they say is they're increasing this fee from 3.5% to 5%. So that they can get more people to look at your guitars and gear and they can get more web traffic. The first thing they said they're going to do is invest in SEO. I do not mean to poo-poo SEO. My full-time job for the last 5 years or so has been in marketing. I've been a marketing consultant. I've worked for a large corporation as the marketing director. I've done a lot of marketing. Here's the thing, content wins. So when you are the largest platform already, like when Reverb is as giant as it is, they've done really well to become the place that people think of when they're buying and selling guitars and gear online. So there will be costs associated to ad spend, especially around like Facebook or Google. So it does make sense that Reverb would spend a bunch of money to get their content out, to get ads and AdWords so that when you search for certain things. But to spend a bunch of money on SEO is typically a waste of money because organic attraction to your content is way better. So one of the things that Reverb has done astoundingly well is to get all of the people or to get a substantial amount of the people that care about the things that we care about, guitars, gear, old pedals, cool stuff. And it's done an amazing job to get all of us in the same room. So right now you will get much more exposure on Reverb than any other platform. So let's run through the numbers real quick. 3.5% to 5%, not a substantial difference, but it will affect every user on the platform and it will adversely affect moderate users and super users. If you are already using Reverb and you're selling 8 to 10 things a month, this is going to be a noticeable chunk that doesn't come home to you. So on one side, Reverb has an amazing ability to fetch higher prices. Here's a very important point. Reverb is not the market price. Reverb is by far the highest of pretty much all of the platforms right now. eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. I guarantee you that Reverb is the highest value, which is why it's so attractive. If I can sell something for 20% more than I could get in person, it's very appealing to me, but I'm going to give a pound of flesh with that. Like it's not, I will get a higher number, but Reverb is continuing to tack on more fees. I started in 2014, I had a shop called Bayou Music Exchange. It was a small guitar shop in Louisiana. And I started selling a good amount of stuff on Reverb. At that point, shipping was incredibly cheap. Buying through Reverb, that was the biggest appeal to me. It was 2.5% and 3.5%, so I'd give 6% plus discounted on shipping. Usually I would save so much on shipping that 5 or 6% didn't matter too much. As things have grown, they brought out buyer's protection in 2016, 2017? I got burned so hard by Reverb 3 times in a row, which is why I quit for almost a year selling anything on Reverb. And so at that time, they would sell 1% of the sale price, which that's a pretty good deal. And if anything went wrong, they would take care of you. But that product is called buyer's protection, but the seller has to buy it. It's not really aimed to protect sellers. It really is aimed to protect the seller. And so you would pay 1% of the sale price. But what happened was I just kept getting people buying my guitars that did not know enough about guitars. They'd never owned a vintage guitar. And so by the time they got it, it didn't play like their new Squire, and then they freaked out. So it just got to a place where I could feel the growing pains of Reverb in 2018 that was saying, this platform is growing so quickly that the quality of buyers is really dropping off because they just don't know enough about guitars and gear. And then they also, because Reverb, which Reverb hasn't done it, but the fact that now it's really hard, if you live in like a normal town, it's really hard to find a guitar shop that has someone that works there that knows how to set a guitar up, that knows how to talk about values, that can just help you and just be kind of that, you know, the sage advice that's been buying and selling guitars for a long time. And so you just have this place where people, they see famous musicians or Instagram guitar players playing these certain guitars, and they get those guitars and they've never owned or played a vintage guitar, and all of a sudden they realize that they play hard, the intonation's not perfect, just all of these issues with vintage guitars. So fees have slowly increased over the years, so shipping has gotten more expensive, and they've been little tweaks that they've done to the seller protection. So it used to be 1%, and I'm sure that was probably too little, or they just had too many issues. And as they had more buyers coming in that didn't know what they were doing, they probably had more claims against that. And so basic insurance says you have to raise more in premium than you would ever pay out. And so I'm sure that they cut pretty close just charging the 1%. So in recent months, I've noticed that sometimes, where the buyer protection used to be 1%, a couple months ago I sold a guitar for $400 and the buyer protection was $12, which I'm not great at math, but that's not 1%. And so I've gotten to where the most I've ever seen is probably $30 gets added onto it for buyer protection. And so all of a sudden I have to start weighing the risk of, well, it's just shipping to Atlanta. I packed it really well. It's really well described. I talked to the buyer. He seems great. But instead of just saying, I trust Reverb to make it right if something goes wrong, I've had issues where I don't necessarily trust Reverb to make it right. And so all of a sudden I'm put in a position where I need to take on a little more risk. All of this to say, where we are now, Reverb has now raised their prices, and it's a serious problem for moderate users and super users. You need to look at other platforms. I've had incredible luck recently selling on Facebook Marketplace. Craigslist is still an old faithful, and if you build your own following through Instagram or Facebook, you can get to where you have a good network of people. Vintage Guitar Mart on Facebook, lots of those Facebook groups are really good. You're gonna save a lot of money on fees. Now with that, you're gonna pay more on shipping because you're not in the bulk buying that Reverb offers, and you're gonna need to pay for your own insurance. So whether you get your own insurance policy that covers things that you ship coming or going, or you just pay more for the shipping when you do it. But I would rather pay $75 to ship a guitar and assume the risk myself through my own insurance policy than being at the mercy of Reverb, who even the product that I'm forced to buy is called buyer's protection. So if something goes wrong, the buyer gets their money back, and then I have to pay for shipping back, and I have to pay to restock the guitar, restring it, fix it after they've messed with it. It's just not a good product. So you definitely should look at other platforms. So in summary, I don't think it is the end of the world. I think there's some good, I think there's some bad, and what I personally am going to do. So what I think is good about this, it's really good to hear that this company who was just acquired by a big company that really understands online retail like Etsy, it's good to hear that they're putting more money into the platform. They're trying to get more people to use the platform, but there are problems with that. So Reverb in the end doesn't actually make anything or sell anything. They just facilitate the place in which we do these deals. And so when they're getting more money in the middle, it just feels wrong and it feels pretty intrusive. The other part is they said that they're putting a bunch of money into SEO, which SEO by and large isn't needed if you have quality content. It's usually a waste of money if you have good organic material that's coming out. And I understand that that's been tricky with COVID and lockdown and you're not able to shoot videos the way that you once were. But overall, Reverb is still a very attractive brand. It still is really helpful and really cool. Like it just has this kind of cool vibe to it, especially when artists sell a bunch of their own stuff and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I could actually buy one of Jeff Tweedy's old cabinets, or, you get these cool opportunities. But the other thing they said they're going to do is that they're going to move into international markets. But the thing is, they charge an extra fee for processing money, even though PayPal, if the buyers go through PayPal, they're already paying PayPal fees to convert currencies. So there's this double dipping that Reverb is getting, that they're getting that additional fee. I think it's 1 or 2% if you're outside of the US that Reverb gets on top of that. So all of a sudden you have 5% plus 2.5% for credit card fees, plus the 1 to 3% for buyer protection. And then on top of that, if you're international, you're now paying an additional 1 to 2 or 3%. Man, all of a sudden that's a pound of flesh that's coming off. So yes, you may have gotten 20% more for your guitar, but all of a sudden it's looking much closer. And if you are trying to make buying and selling guitars part of your side hustle, or if you're a small shop and you sell the guitars that don't sell locally, if you sell them on Reverb, it just feels like hard-working small shops are being asked to carry a heavier weight for a large corporation. It's pretty power grabby. Feels pretty gross to me. So that's the good, the bad, and what will I do? I have completely changed my relationship with Reverb. I loved Reverb the first couple of years. It was wonderful for me. I bought and sold tons of stuff. And now there are certain things that I will never, ever, ever sell on Reverb that I'm just not even going to try. So for me, if it is a guitar or a pedal or a piece of gear and it requires any explanation about a mod or a change or wear or any kind of condition thing, if it is not dead stock, original, reliable, I won't sell it. So I have a Magnatone over here. It's a 212, but it's a weird 60s Magnatone. It's always gonna have some issues, some noise, some burps, some whatevers. And I'm not gonna sell it on there because I'm sure that as soon as I sell it, someone who's never owned a vintage amp is gonna buy it. And they're gonna freak out. They're gonna say, well, it's kind of noisy and the reverb is kind of feedbacky. I don't sell anything vintage. I don't sell anything that requires extra explanation. If it's at any work or modifications to it, it's just not the place. Reverb is not the platform for thoughtful, nuanced evaluation and deals. So if that's the case, I'll talk with people, I'll meet with them, we'll do a video call if they're far away, we'll talk in depth about the piece of gear and what it is, and we'll find a way to buy it outside of Reverb. Would I still use Reverb for? Pedals are great on Reverb, guitars are great on Reverb. Anything under $1,000 is pretty reliable and pretty good. For me personally, I don't put much of the stuff above $1,000 on there unless it is totally clean, totally original, no issues, no problems, and then it's good. So thanks for watching this video. I'm Jeremy, I'm the Guitar Hunter. I love buying and selling guitars. I want to help people find the right guitars for them. So what do you think about Reverb? Is this a problem? Is it not that big of a problem? Is it not that big of a deal? Are you excited about the changes with Reverb? Where do you fall on this? Tell me in the comments below. If you want to support the channel, I do sell t-shirts through Reverb. That's a good way to do it. So you can go to my shop. It's reverb.com/shop/Jeremy the Guitar Hunter. The other way you can support the channel is you can become a patron. You can go over to patreon.com/guitarhunter and you can become a patron and you get to see videos before they come up. You get Q&As with me. There's all kinds of perks and good benefits over there. So thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys later.